Lying in bed awake at night, sweating, freaking out, sickness, mental unrest? No, I'm lying here trying to figure out how to get my website hosted as a backlink. There's literally no one who would want to have me on their website. Nobody. Well, that's what I thought anyway. After freaking out for the week, I got in touch with James Everett, former digital marketer at 82 Days Hotel Group, and now founder of Liberté Market Garden. He taught me some excellent strategies for getting linked to on your website and a general overview of SEO. Let's have a look. We want to talk about SEO today. Could you do me a solid and explain that like I'm a complete beginner?
So SEO stands for search engine optimization. In your digital marketing strategies, what you're trying to do is you're trying to optimize all of your copywriting and all of your technical aspects of your websites to land at the top of the search engine results for your target keywords. So these search engines, they all have a certain set of algorithms and a certain kind of approach to which they reference you and they get you on the search engine results pages. You're trying to be referenced by these algorithms. It really shifts the approach you will have on how you will build your website and how you will think out all of the content on your website. It will also push you towards certain technical aspects of your website that will change. One big thing that Google, for example, really cares about is how quick your site loads. That is just such a funny and small technical thing that we don't always think about when we're running all of these big websites and we're writing all of this content, but actually just how quick that will load actually makes quite a big difference. Well, bounce rate is one of the terms basically, it's like if people are going to click away or not. And obviously if people aren't clicking away and they're actually staying on your site because it loaded quickly, that will be a good signal towards Google that a website worth referencing.
Tips for including page speed include crushing your images, making sure the internal links are working, and maybe using Debutify to consolidate your plugins.
There's more like there's the technical SEO, as we would call it. It's more like, I could kind of say it's like content SEO. Everything about the website and then everything that will go onto this website, and then it's also everything that goes on other websites that aren't yours, on the Facebooks, on the Instagrams, the social medias, the content on the way that you're linking everything around matters. Back when Google and these search engines were coming around, the algorithms were a lot less sophisticated. So it was quite easy to understand the main characteristics and you could kind of game the system. You could find tricks to get referenced despite not really deserving that reference or deserving that position in the search engine page. As the algorithms were a lot less sophisticated, the signals that they were using were a lot less developed and they were much more simple. The role that links played into it was quite easy. So you could, if you found a way to get loads of links pointing towards your website, even if they were somewhat illegitimate and they weren't from real websites, that would actually count towards how many links have pointed to your website, which is a signal for Google to say, oh yeah, this must be an authoritative website if there's so many people that are linking to it.
And that's going to push you up the SERP.
Exactly, and that will push you up the SERP.
SERP, by the way, just stands for Search Engine Ranking Page. It's just what you look at when you get those query results on Google.
But those things aren't quite so much of a big thing anymore. As in, it's not as easy to kind of game the system like that to get pushed up the SERP. Well, I mean, links are definitely a big component still of how authoritative your website, but you have to have it from other authoritative websites. For example, these websites need to have a certain amount of clout in themselves. They need to have had a lot of links themselves been pointed to them. You can have a kind of a strategy where if you're writing lots of content on your website.
So you need backlinks. Backlinks are essentially votes from other websites that announce your credibility. You're going to want to match searcher intent, quite important. In order to do this, have a look yourself. Search for the keyword that you want to rank for and analyze the top results. Hrefs have the 3 C's of search intent. So you've got content type, that's like blog posts, videos, product pages, landing pages, category pages. And then you've got content format, how-to guides, step-by-step tutorials, list posts, opinion editorials, and then content angle, the benefit. Why would someone want to click on your link?
If you're having like a blog strategy, if you're trying to create authoritative content on your website for a certain amount of target keywords that you want to become like the top result in the search engine, so that can kind of drive traffic to your website. Whatever you're referencing, well, it's kind of like writing a thesis, you're referencing. It's not just your own work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you link out to these other things, to these other sources. Like it's kind of good practice to point towards other websites that have these authoritative sources. That good practice, well, if they've got somebody working in their SEO, they'll be like, oh, this person sent us a link. That's interesting. And that's work. They'll be able to analyze and see who's linking back to them. Well, if it's something around a similar topic, say, if they're working on a similar topic, then maybe they will write a blog post and point back to your authoritative content because you've written something which is interesting. Just having this good practice of linking back to other people's sites, you can kind of create a bit of a web of content like this.
Let me just demonstrate this web we're talking about. If I write a blog about the ethics of beeswax on my beeswax store, we can call that website A. I can go out and find pages that talk about beeswax, website B and C. So I say, do you want to add more authority to these pages? You can link to mine as I have all this unique data around beeswax. Then website A is linked to B and C, which gives it triple the amount of traffic potential if that blog was just alone on website A.
But it's difficult. This is the trouble. Like links are quite a specific thing in SEO where it does matter, but it's really hard to make it count, as in to actually do it properly, because you can't really game the system anymore. That was why they were so important in the first place. But they give so much information about the website, but it really takes a lot of time because it takes somebody else on another website deciding to link to your website. You need to have a real reason for them to be doing that. If you write something that gets picked up by a certain number of journalists, say, who are writing for different large newspapers, then if ever you get a link from one of these newspapers, or maybe you'll get a bunch of newspapers that will link to one page, that is really a big signal, because you've got these really authoritative websites that Google knows it trusts and really likes to reference and push up in the SERP. Then if you've done something more in the physical realm of marketing, in the sort of using traditional media, or say you run an event and then you write a little sort of page about it, or you've got all the pictures, then maybe that will push whichever journalists were at this event to link towards that in their article, and then that would be a really good signal in terms of links.
Another good signal for PageRank is a good page, not just your website as a whole, but the pages on your site. If you have any pages that aren't getting as much traffic as the other ones, delete them. Your performing pages will bring up the ranking of your whole website. So get rid of any underperforming pages.
So, well, this is where, this is where your digital presence really informs what you do in just your general marketing strategy, even if it doesn't seem to be, when you're out on your computer and trying to write keywords and everything, trying to copyright using the right keywords and things of that sort. It really informs your whole strategy in how you live out your marketing.
Yeah, that was beautiful. How does that translate into the digital? Just at the end there, that example of the journalist attending your event, like most of our audience, well, actually 100% of them online, they're business owners trying to run e-commerce stores or successfully running e-commerce stores. So for people who are running a store, running an event is actually such a good idea because it's probably not what people are doing in the physical space. For those who want to bootstrap themselves just on the computer, how does one get links?
Yeah, links is a complicated one, definitely. You just got to find a reason for people to link to you. That's kind of the essence of it. Is you have to, this is where the creative kind of aspect of it really comes in, and you've got to be able to have a real creative reason for people to link back to you. Definitely the sort of the event, being able to run an event, I think that attracts traditional media is definitely a pretty good tool in that toolbox. This was one of the strategies. If you've written a piece of authoritative content on your website with these tools, such as Ahrefs or those tools that you can check on backlinks, you'll find websites that are writing about a specific subject. They may be linking to a site that is defunct. It's not online anymore. And so they've got these dead links on their website about a subject that you've written about. This is where the sort of diplomacy kind of aspect comes in again. And then you can reach out to these people, try and find an email somewhere on the website, or using these other tools where you can try and get emails and just say, hey, I got this piece of content that I think really fits, the subject that you're talking about in this article. By the way, you've got a dead link, So
you're doing them a favor.
You do them a favor by saying, look, you've got something that's not working. But here, you don't need to go look for anything else. You don't need to go and try and find another piece of content to write. If this helps, this is, if this seems like the right thing for you, then you can definitely use that to link to. And often they'll be like, oh, super, thank you. Thank you for pointing out that I had this dead link. Yeah, sure, that would work out great. So that would be just an example of like dead link, sort of technical link SEO aspect. If you're working, this was more from when I was working for an agency. So if you're working for a company who has had a lot of photo shoots done on their property, as I was working in hotels, well, in their buildings, say, of a grand piano or things of this nature, these pictures will be popular. So with this, so if you have these images, because they have the rights to these images, you can do a reverse image search, and then you will find if there are other people that are using this image on their websites for any other reason. So if there are, because if these places are a bit popular, there would tend to be some, they won't be using the rights to those images per se, but you can reach out to them and be like, hey, instead of using that image, how about if you just link to our website instead? If you have the option to click on the image and it will link straight back to where it was from.
The thing that's been daunting for me about linking has just been, you have like zero leverage most of the time. But with those two examples, it's very useful. You're being the useful aspect, the component that comes in and it's just going to help things.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a case of you've always got to find a way to provide value. There's a lot of marketing does. It comes down to that. So if links is a part of your strategy, then definitely, that is an aspect of it.
So just to summarize these two strategies, you can find your own content that is being used by other people and ask them to link to you. And you can find subpar content on other people's pages and offer your page as an additional piece, only if they link to you. So one idea is to create infographics or videos from blog posts or articles with high share counts.
It's like forums and things like that. It depends because, a lot of these websites, they have like do not follow links. Say if you're like on a lot of forums, if your webmasters will probably say that on that website, whatever links are on there, it will inform the Google robots, the SEO robots, that you do not follow this link. So that's what they do on Facebook and Instagram and on all of these content aggregators, because there's just too much information going about and they don't want Facebook to be giving out all of these things. It's too easy to game otherwise. Otherwise you'd be getting all of these links all the time that are trying to get domain authority from these big websites. It is a lot about the content and how you're managing it, all of that. And then it's just, following a certain good practice about writing.
So as you can see with SEO, content is top priority. The easiest way to generate content is to write content, as Google is searching for keywords and terms which are both text-based. You can use Ubersuggest from Neil Patel. You need to find new keywords for each of your blog posts. So the title has to be appealing, obviously, but make sure you pick the appealing title over the title with more keywords. It's just going to make it more, intuitive to click on.
About writing your titles and metas to be clickable and things of that nature. What appears in the search result, and then just being clickable. But like e-commerce websites, and they're trying to use SEO to further their digital marketing strategy. It's a tool that has its own limits as well, I would say. How much value are you providing? You can't use SEO as a trick. You just need to optimize your niche. There is going to be a point where you're going to reach a limit. You'll get diminishing returns on the amount of effort you'll be putting in. Sort of Pareto Rule again, somewhat, right?
So the Pareto Rule that James is referencing here is also known as the 80-20 rule, where you spend 20% of the time making 80% of the thing, and then 80% of the time making the remaining 20% of the thing.
Yeah, you need to be creative. Really, it is, a lot of it comes down to your ability to be creative and make it a numbers game. The technical aspect, just a case of optimizing it really, really well. It starts becoming like trade-offs. Like I know, like for example, if you want your website to load quickly, that's really good. That's a really important factor, I would say. That provides a lot of value to the customer, just in general. If the site loads really snappy, and then there's no nonsense, kind of loading different components of the website and all of that, then having a really snappy website is really good. But as marketers, we also we like using tags via Google Tag Manager, and we like using all of these tracking information to kind of get a better idea of what the customer's doing on the website. But actually using all of these tags is one of the major components that slows down websites. because you are loading this whole other kind of part in the background in the browser that will slow down the actual content on the website. There's the bit of arbitrage and trade-offs you need to have around that aspect. It really is just a tool in the toolbox. And there are people that would say, it's definitely worth working with some specialists in each of these specific fields within the technical aspect of it. Also, within each sort of niche of SEO, there's definitely people that can, they can get you those extra percents. If you've already done most of the work that is recommended to do when it comes to SEO, I don't know how much there really is to kind of scrape out of it. You just need to find new ways to provide value to your customers. You need to just have a good protocol of how to include the SEO.
Yeah, I guess that pivots kind of to organic marketing, because if I'm going to buy something, I just go to the person that's given me the most value already, even if I've never bought anything from them, like nofilmschool.com. They just provide so many beautiful videos and articles. If I'm like, oh, what was that camera lens called? I just go nofilmschool.com, search it, and then I'm just buying off their affiliate link. And it's even an affiliate program that the lens was there in the first place. I'm so keen to give back that value that they've given to me. It's quite nice, the macro view as well.
Yeah, it is. You need to have that abundant mindset. When it comes to certain things like this as well, it's like, as what you're linking there. Well, if they provided really good value to you, then maybe you will end up writing something about how you as a filmmaker purchases your equipment, and you'll be able to you would write something about them. It's not much cost to you to just add an extra little section or add a link in about how they provided value back to you. Trying to create as much opportunity for this win-win situation, for win-win situations. But obviously this is why I kind of say again, it's difficult. You don't get your money back quickly. It's kind of like a long-term investment. Having this approach is very difficult to quantify as well directly in the short term, because you won't see a lot of results. And actually a lot of time with SEO, it is really about the long term. A lot of things take a lot of time.
Okay, so now some final thoughts on link building, which I owe to Link Jump founder Sam Williamson. So let's kick it off. So for blogging, find something that you're interested in. That way you're just going to gravitate towards it throughout your workday. You'll organically put more time and effort into it. Then there's broken link building. Long term, for broken link building, you'll build connections with pages. But at the beginning, you're gonna have to email them and just say, hey, there's a broken link on your website, and you can offer your content as a replacement in order for them to link to your page. So Sam says, head to the Wikipedia page, the main page in your niche. Check those external links. Find some broken links if there are any, and have a look at what those sites were linking to when those broken links weren't broken. Then you can make content for those broken links. Hit up those sites and go, yo, you had a broken link? I made you some good stuff. You can also put Wikipedia into the Wayback Machine. Check 5 years ago for the websites that were in the external links section, and you'll find a ton of deleted pages, websites that just no longer exist, and this can form the basis of your content. Now, obviously you don't want to waste time prospecting. You want to only be sending emails to people who you know are updating their website. So Ahrefs actually has a broken link function. Take the biggest site in your niche, put them into this broken link function, and see if any other sites are linking to it. Then just rewrite the content in a better way. A lot of this relies on you being a somewhat good writer, but I mean, it's an excellent skill to be good at writing. So you've got the broken link, then you also have the people who are linking to that broken link. So use the Wayback Machine, or use the context of those links who were linking to it to find out what the page was about. Because sometimes using the Ahrefs tool, you can't always tell what the page was. So try and use those context clues. So make sure that the sites that you're prospecting for are at a similar level domain to yours, or optimally a little bit more established. If they don't want to use your link, then you also have the opportunity to offer to pay for the link. Okay, another really great idea from Sam is to put your pages on the subreddit of your niche. It has to be a new submission where you share a post from your site to the Reddit community. Go through the community and get an idea of what the community likes. Do they like informational posts, news updates, memes? Whatever they like, you can then make your content for that community. For example, top Shopify themes. Share it in the Shopify subreddit. Now, another strategy is the image credit strategy. Find images that people are using without permission. Any images, And then you offer those sites your own images. You just say, hey, this image is listed under Creative Commons. You're not allowed to use it, but I'm not gonna call you out on it. You should use my image instead if you link to it, which is a really polite way of moving through this strategy. Now, both of these strategies and the strategies that James discussed are gonna take a lot of time. Building links, according to these two experts, I haven't done it myself, say that it takes time. And it's kind of intuitive when you look at the whole process. It's not like a paid ad where you instantly get traffic. It's a long-term relationship building. So you've got the Wikipedia, the Reddit, and the image strategy. Big shout out to Sam from LinkJump there. You can check out his website on linkjump.co.uk if you want to learn more about link building. All right, wicked. Thanks so much for watching. Best of luck with SEO and link building. And thank you to James for helping us out with this interview. All right, have a good day.